All right, we'd like to welcome you all to Transform You, where HollyKem and I do live coaching. And today we have a wonderful guest, Mario Wissa. And he's going to take a moment to introduce himself and tell us what he would like to work on. Good to have you, Mario. Introduce
Yes.
yourself and tell us what you would like to work on today.
Um, Thank you for creating this opportunity for us to connect. I actually appreciate it. I do not take that for granted. It really means a lot. And yes, my name is Mario Halim Wissa, and I am here today to asking for your input and advice and your experiences about handling anxiety and making the best of it. So to elaborate, I have been dealing with anxiety for as long as I can remember
Mm.
until recently I learned that anxiety and excitement is has pretty much the same physiological effects in our body.
Wow.
And I think that's really important. And also learned that if I was to able to harness this anxiety, I can make miracles happen. And I'm still trying to figure out what that means. I'm open for
Mhm.
inputs. Please ask me any questions. Let's dive into it. I'm excited. I think you guys are about to change my life.
I love that. I
Yes.
love that.
Well, tell us a little bit. When do you remember some of the first times you experienced anxiety? You have any vivid memories, or is it just in
And
general?
yeah, and I would put add with that sometimes because you know what it is now,
Mhm.
you didn't realize what it was then. But if you put those pieces together, okay, because a lot of times we have it when we're younger, but we don't know that's what it is. Yeah.
Yes, yes. So, honestly, between like my childhood, how I was brought up, where my mom, if she was to find me sitting down for 2, 3 minutes, to her, that's like wasting time. Get up and do something. Why are you sitting down? So I've been programmed at this from a really young age. And not to mention also the military experience, the same thing.
Okay.
It's all about efficiency and productivity, being productive and being part of the team and sitting down is only for eating or using the restroom in the military,
Okay.
Wow.
US Navy. Now, honestly, I did not know much about anxiety. I heard the word is was being thrown around until
Mhm.
13 years ago,
Uh-huh.
2012, when I was seeing my therapist, and she mentioned that do you are you aware that you struggle with anxiety? I'm like, I don't know what that means, but and she kind of explained to me a little bit, and I realized, you know what, that's actually true, where I'm always on the go. And if I'm not doing something, I'm not really productive. And to be honest with you, my anxiety had served me so well in my career in a way that every single job or position I have ever held, honest to God, within 6 months, I get promoted because I cannot sit my butt down.
Wow.
I'm always like, whatever my boss gives me to
So
do,
your
whatever.
anxiety is connected to really being overproductive
Yeah, and
Yes.
successful.
and successful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So in some sense, it's a challenge. Sometimes our coping behaviors are positive and sometimes they're negative, right?
Hmm.
So I can have a coping behavior such as say drinking when I'm upset and
Mhm.
I start getting drunk every day. You can see that's a negative thing, right?
Right.
But then sometimes our coping behaviors can be positive where actually even though they're coping with life, they're having positive results. And so for you, this is you recognize you had anxiety, but the way you cope with that anxiety was to stay busy and to be productive. So it was more of a challenge to be able to see that as a problem.
Right.
Yes. Now, why do I think it's an issue? Or
Yes.
can I share a new word with you that I invented
Yeah.
like 10 years ago?
Would love
Absolutely.
Uh,
it.
the word is groblem. Groblem means good problem.
A problem.
Oh, you got to copyright that bad boy. Problem. This is
Groblem.
Mario's word, people.
Yeah. Problem. It's actually a really good problem because in a way I'm really productive and many people rely
Mhm.
on me, even my managers, my boss, leaders.
Yeah.
In the meantime, it actually
Yes.
takes a toll on me over
Mm-hmm.
time, and
Right.
that is
Mm-hmm.
what I became aware of.
Yeah, because you need to
Yeah.
Um,
sleep.
Well, yeah. Yes.
yes,
Yes.
yes.
Yes. You need to sleep. You need to eat. You need to have relationships that are positive for you and not just associated with success and moving. And yeah, so it definitely is a problem. I love that because, when you have a healthy, a, you know, say in parentheses, a healthy coping mechanism that is a problem, then all of a sudden it's like, well, people are like, but you're so successful and you help so many people and you have all of this going on and look what you've done. Yes, and yes, and it can create a lot of loneliness. It can create a lot of walls around me, and I don't have the time to be who I really want to be in life because I'm being driven by the problem and it's pushing me and it's pushing me. And what is it really covering up? If I'm always in the problem because I'm constantly, solving issues and problems and moving. So it's like, one day, I mean, I used to have the problem, but one day, you get stopped.
Yeah.
And then what?
Yeah.
You know, do we like it's kind of like I'm thinking about like a pro athlete we just had the Super Bowl, right? Is like when these guys get hurt, right? We know they push to be a
Hmm.
professional, right? So they have the problem
Yes.
too, right? And boy, everybody's so happy and so many people depend on them, in their world. And then they can't play anymore or they retire. Then what? If you're not Tom Brady, you didn't get the 200 million, $300 million thing to be on Fox or whatever. It's like, okay, now who am I? So it's like it is a problem. To zone in the healthy part of it, yes, but then for it to take me where I don't want to go, even though I don't know that I don't want to go there.
Yeah. So to work with that part
Yeah,
with you,
so
I
good.
want to just propose to you that we call the part of you that doesn't stop, the anxiety part that always goes, we'll call it Energizer Bunny,
Oh yeah,
right? So you have the
easy moving.
Energizer Bunny that's always going, and then you have Mario, who's who you
Yes,
are in your spirit, the
yes,
part of you that's connected with God, the part of you that has your purpose, the part of you that knows how to have relationship and also to work and also to relax. It's the healthy part of you
and fun.
and fun.
Yes,
And so
Yeah.
so you let's just pretend you have two voices on the inside. You have Mario and you have the Energizer Bunny.
right.
And your boss tells you, can you work overtime? And you've just worked overtime. Well, Energizer Bunny's going to say no, but Mario's going to say no. I mean,
Like
Energizer
everybody
Bunny's going to
say
say yes.
yes.
And Mario's going to say, no, I'm tired. I have to
Right.
take care of this and that. So there is the dilemma, those two parts, right? Is that they're constantly going at each other. And if Mario doesn't have control over
Energizer.
Energizer Bunny, then Mario loses, even though he's very, very productive, or ends up in being burned out, right?
Yeah. Can I go one step
Yeah.
further? I'm going to go one step further, Mario. Is
Please.
that let's separate Energizer Bunny and let's say the Energize is the anxiety and the bunny is the grobbler.
Okay.
And then there's Mario. So the energy starts moving, right? And all of a sudden, the bunny says, I got this. And he starts taking over. And where's Mario? He's behind two other things. So it's the
Hmm.
Energizer bunny because the Energizer and the bunny have become one. So
Hmm.
when you said it would be a miracle if I could, I could get it in a bottle. Well, it's kind of like if I separate the bunny and the Energizer, and then I'm like, okay, there's a problem. Somebody needs me, right? And Energizer, I just want to hear that part says, oh, we have to do this. We have to do this. It has to be done. And it's a crisis. It's not a crisis for Mario, it's a crisis for them. So then all of a sudden, the bunny wants to take it, right? But if I tell the bunny, no, I'm going to handle this Energizer, Bunny's not going to handle it. That maybe tomorrow I'll come in 30 minutes earlier instead of working 3 hours tonight.
Hmm. Hmm.
So it's like, who has the power here? What's been happening is Energizer gets the power, Bunny takes it, and they go.
Hmm.
But then Mario gets left out.
Hmm.
Yeah.
He's in the back seat and
Yeah, he's in the
they're
back seat.
driving the
Yeah,
car.
they're driving the car.
Right.
I have I really like what you guys just shared. It's very interesting because when you talk about Energizer Bunny, I think I do have an idea who is the bunny in my life.
Mhm.
That's actually my mom who passed away about 4 years ago.
Uh-huh.
She
Yes.
It's
was
her voice, huh?
She passed
she
away, but
was
she's still living on in the Energizer Bunny.
Yeah.
man, and I'm learning to like be compassionate and go like, Mom, that's not what we do now. We do things
Yes.
differently. But she
Yes.
was like, go get her. I'm talking, she used to sleep maybe 4 to 5 hours a day.
Wow.
Wow is right. And guess what? She did not, she just finished like elementary school. She didn't even go to high school.
Wow.
And she was like really good with like people and numbers and
Mm.
business and money. And she did amazing, amazing things. But that took a toll on her. Now
Yes.
I'm in my early 40s now, and I'm
Yeah.
realizing it. I have few injuries from the military, and um, I wish I was getting younger. I'm trying,
Right.
but it's not working. But I'm not getting younger, and I can feel it. And you're
Yeah.
right; it is a taking toll on me. And to go back to the idea when my boss asked me, like, if I want to work overtime, I was kind of smiling at this
Mhm.
because I used to offer my time to work for free. Obviously, that
Mhm.
never happened. They did not allow me to work for free. But
Right.
the idea for an employee to offer, like, I have so much
Mhm.
energy, allow me to work for free. I'm like, my
Mhm.
God, they cannot get rid of me. Come to work, we'll pay you. I always got paid, but
Right.
that tells you so much
It
about it,
does tell you so
Are
much.
you ready for a journey of self discovery and healing? Introducing a roadmap to the soul, a practical guide to love, compassion, and inner peace. This book offers practical tools and insights to navigate your inner landscape, release emotional blockages, and embrace your authentic self. Start your transformational journey today by getting your copy now. See the link in the description. And now, back to the lesson.
Because what Energizer's telling them and what Bunny's telling them is that I'm not worth it.
Hmm.
That I'm going to give
Oh,
away.
yeah,
I'm going to
that's
give
true.
away who I am. And it's like, because who I am is to serve you, which is a
Yeah,
beautiful thing. That's how we can get so caught up in it. And of course, they honor us by our presence and say how good we do. And it's true. It is true. But all of that service and all that you do, that you give, is really who your true self is. It is Mario. That Mario is good. He is smart. He is a good worker. He is successful. He is all of those things. However, when it's done out of love and health for yourself and for the company, it has boundaries.
Right.
when
But
I
when
do
it's
it by
done
choice.
right, but when it's done out of Energizer Bunny, then all of a sudden it's done out of worthlessness. It's just being obedient, like blind obedience
Yeah.
to the message that your mother gave you because you love her.
Right.
But then you see what her Energized Bunny did a toll on her, and now she's not on Earth anymore. And she was good and she was smart and she was incredible and she did wonderful things. Yes, yes, and yes. And we honor her. However, your mother, you're not with today physically.
Yeah.
Right. It's a loss.
There's things that drive our true self, Mario, who we
Yeah.
really are.
Who we
And then
really
we
are.
talk
Right.
about the Energizer Bunny. That part of us, which I call our coping behavior, or we
Yeah.
call it our protector in our language, that part is always driven by one of two things, a fear or a wound.
Yes.
Oh, a
Yeah.
fear or an
Or a
Or a
injury, a
wound,
wound.
wound.
Right. And the
Interesting.
right?
wound
Okay.
can cause fear.
And the wound could cause fear.
Right.
So the question is, for you is, are you aware of what is the fear that drives Energizer Bunny? What is the fear that if you did not do the overtime when you were asked, or you did not work real hard, what is the fear?
What is right?
That's actually a very good question. As I contemplating
Oh,
on that,
let's go one more level.
One more.
sure.
When your mother
Oh, that's good.
was very demanding about if you were just taking a break and you were sitting down and okay, you sat down for 10 seconds. That was too long. You need to get to work. You got to do this.
Yeah.
What was the price you would pay if you said, no, I need to relax?
Oh my goodness. Well, I've never uttered those words in
Okay, but if you
my
would
mom's
have,
life, but if I
Right.
were, I don't know, probably be yelled at, or I don't know. If I was like young enough, I'd probably get beaten up. I don't know if I was like 9 or 10 years old, I get beaten up, but I mean, the idea never crossed my mind.
it never
No,
crossed your mind, but it
you're
tells you
right.
the fear, right?
It
The
does.
fear
Right.
was either being reprimanded severely
Yes.
Yeah.
or being told that you were not what?
It's like, I guess, like we all know, like not good enough or not
Not good
worth
enough.
Not
it, or
good
you're
enough.
not adding
Yeah.
value.
There you
Yeah.
are. They're
Right.
not adding value. You're not good enough. The message is.
The message
Right.
is.
Yeah.
You know she
Yeah.
loves you. There's no doubt. But
Yeah.
because of her belief systems and where she comes from, it's like the message is that you're not good enough. And you're going to what? Disappoint her. If you don't do it.
Well, she was always disappointed anyway, but that's beside the
Oh.
point.
Well, it would have been disappointment times
Relax.
10.
Yeah, it would have been way bad, way
It would have
worse
been
if you
disappointment
would
times
have
10.
done it.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah.
Yes.
So you see the connection
Hmm.
is that it's a direct compensation to the
Right.
fear or the wound.
Right.
And so even as an adult man, you can be interacting, but those two can get kicked in.
Yeah.
So it could be played out in a work situation
So easy.
and say that you worked a long day, you're tired, you're ready to go home. Mario's like, I did my money's worth.
Yeah.
And the boss says, I need you to stay another 6 hours. Mario says, I'm tired. Perhaps I can help tomorrow, not
Right.
today. But then
Whoa.
Energizer Bunny kicks in and says, give him the 6 because
Yeah.
if not, you're going to be reprimanded and you're going to be seen as not good enough. And then all of a sudden you have the three
Right.
voices going on at the same time, and you're needing to decide how to handle the situation.
Right.
And so,
Yeah.
yeah,
Right. And the goal here, for us always is that a lot of people just want us to make the other two voices be quiet, right?
Hmm.
It's like, make that go away. Make that anxiety go away. Make all that go away and just let me hear my true self. But the truth is true love is learning to love the part that says, oh, no, 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 we have to stay. And you're going to get fired. This is no. And then Bunny says, oh, I can do it. I can do it. I can do it. I can do it. It's okay. It's okay. And it's like, no, it's not okay. That how do I love these parts of me and say no? Because they're not going to be quiet. But the problem is that if I allow them to take over, then later I hear myself going, why did I do that? I'm so tired. He went home with his children. He went home and, had a date or whatever he did. And I'm still here. And it's not even my company. You know what I'm saying? Like, why am I doing this? But it's like they're being, they're taking over and they have the power, But it's like for us, it's about wanting to hear what they have to say and being kind to myself. And then me as a true self saying, you know what, I can give them 30 minutes and then that's the best I can do today. And it's okay that that's the best. Now, they're not going to be happy. My Energizer Bunny's not going to be happy. But the truth is that I'm going to be happy when I get in the car.
Yeah.
Because now it's like, hey, I was kind to myself in this process.
Yeah. So one way of looking at
Yeah.
anxiety is it's when we're afraid of something that we're not really sure what we're afraid of, right? We have this looming emotional fear, but we don't know exactly what the fear is about, right? But as we unravel it
Like we're
in the way
doing.
we categorize it in the voices, we say, okay, the fear is I'm going to be either severely reprimanded when I look at it from a child's perspective,
Right.
or I'm going to be told that I'm not good enough.
Right.
And so I have to do anything and everything, even if it means I work 48 hours straight, in order not for that to come to the surface. So then you shift and you say, okay, how do you manage the fear of being reprimanded and the fear of not being good enough as an adult man talking to that wound,
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
right? And so, what are some of the things that part of you needs to hear? That you need to
Yeah.
hear, Mario,
Yeah.
you are good just as you are
Yeah.
without your
Mm-hmm.
doing, right? You are a wonderful
Yeah.
human being without doing anything.
Yeah.
It's okay to relax.
Yes.
It's okay to say no when you need to, and you won't have retribution.
Right.
It's like that part of you, it needs to be parented
Right.
in order to begin, as HollyKem said, loving on it so that it begins to sort of relax in the
Hmm.
presence
Yeah.
of who you are today as a man.
Yeah. And I loved what you said because you're 100% correct on this, is that the part of me that reprimands or criticizes myself is the unhealthy parts of my parents, that it's their voice that I've adopted. I just took them on, you know? And so, because it worked, right? If she said something, it was like, or I got afraid that she was going to do whatever, understand, like, I'm on it, okay? So now she's not even here, and I talk to myself the way she talked to me, right? And it does motivate me, to get it done, but it's not really. Today I know more, I when I know better, I do better, but it's still the pressure. And it's like, I know that, no, I've done therapy, I've done all this stuff, I know that I don't need to do this anymore, but the pressure's still there. The pressure's still there. And it's like, okay, well, if something is happening, if there is a small child that I don't know, and let's say we're in the mall, and they're just really crying hysterically, and I'm the closest person to them, what am I going to do? I'm not going to say, shut up. I'm going to
Mm-hmm.
go over and I'm going to bend down. I'm not going to touch the child because I don't know the child, but I'm going to say, it's okay. It's okay. And, try to get some attention. You know what I'm saying? To get somebody to come help this baby. But for us, what we want to do is say, shh, shh,
Mm-hmm.
be quiet, versus being kind to myself, and then, if I got this overachievement teenager in me that just wants to prove to everybody I got this, it's like, no, I don't have to do that anymore. I am somebody. I am good. I am enough. I am all of these things. And it's like, okay, this is the plant that I need to water.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Does that make sense to you, Mario? Tell us what makes sense to you.
You're actually okay. Two things. Well, actually, so many things. So I'm gonna focus for a second here. You can already sense my anxiety coming out. Oh, breathing. So I'm practicing meditation and yoga, trying to harness this right now. So, two things. Number one, you see this rack of wood behind me?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Behind this, I actually have three mirrors, and I have a lot of affirmations on it. You cannot see it. So I do write a lot every day. And hence, I was really attracted to your podcast, Transform You. It's inner work. And I have been working on this for a while, yet it feels like it's endless journey, something I'm going to have to live with for the rest of my life.
Yes.
So this inner voice, the second thing is inner voice to be aware of. So as an author and researcher, I published my first book about a year and a half ago, almost 2 years ago. And the subtitle of the book is "The Most Powerful Voice You Will Ever Hear Is Your Own." That's the subtitle of the book. Now, I published the book like a couple of years ago, and just about 5 months ago, the following crossed my mind. Yes, our voice, our inner voice is the most powerful voice we'll ever hear. But sometimes I have to take a break from this sucker. That's what crossed my mind 5 months ago.
Yes.
So just being aware of what's going on. Just like sometimes I really say, you know what? Not now. I'm going to take a break. I literally have to do that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, the other part
Yeah,
too,
it's still
Mario,
good.
which is it's so good, is the way we work is that we have a
Right.
variety of voices on the
Yes.
inside,
We
Yeah.
categorize them.
right? So for example, if my wife is irritated with me and I can see that, a part of me will look at her and say, well, she's upset. I need to be kind and loving. A part of me might say, well, you must have messed up again. She doesn't love you. She's never going to love you. And you're always a screw up. And another part might say, tell her to quit complaining and take the smirk off her mouth. All right, so I have
Hmm.
three voices going on, and
Three different
depending
ones,
on
right.
who gets my voice, gets my mouth, I'm going to have
I'm
three
not.
very different reactions, right?
Right.
And so we really think it's important, and especially in working with anxiety or any issue,
Right.
is to be aware of all three. You
Right.
have who Mario is, the very best, and you have such a
Yeah.
great
I
personality.
know.
You're very vibrant, you're very vivacious, and you have that. But we also all have a part of us
Right.
that's our wound,
Yeah.
or the we call it the wounded child, but it's part
Right.
of us that carries our pain or that carries our anxiety. And it may stay dormant, but every once in a while it can get tapped into. And then third is the coping behavior, or we call the energize the bunny as we work
Hmm.
with you. And then we have all three voices. So I love the title of your book, that the true self is the most powerful voice you
Yes.
ever hear. And we also have these other two that we need to manage,
Hmm.
because if we don't, they'll manage us and we'll become them. And when we become them, that's what we call an anxiety attack.
Right.
I become it. I become the
Hmm.
fear. I
So true.
Right.
become,
Yeah.
and so that's the important thing to be able to manage, is when these two get triggered, how to not let them take over, in a sense, my body.
Right. And you know how in therapy, I know you said you were in therapy before, is that one of the questions is, how do you feel? How do you feel? Okay. Great question. What is important, the way I say it, is who's talking?
Hmm.
Which
Yeah.
part of me's talking? Is
Hmm.
it, am I seeing the world and hearing the world from a wounded ear and a fear base? Am I seeing the world and hearing the world from a protective modality that I just need to protect myself so no, I don't get hurt again and no one sees me as a bad person? And then, who am I? What am I saying? What do I really want? And what I've learned I've been sober for 42 years, is that, so I've been working on myself for 42 years and I am going to continue, is that in that process, it's like, I want to know all of me. How does all of me see what's happening in front of me? How does my wounded self see the world and what's happening in this issue? What does my protector say about that and how it sees the world? And when I do that, everything gets very quiet.
Mhm.
And then I can hear who I really am and how do I want to handle that. And then I can make the best decision for myself. And that's where the peace comes from. And, then it becomes about me in the healthy way and not about you and me pleasing you or you liking me or you not criticizing me. But it becomes about what would be best for me, which will ultimately be best for you because it
Hmm.
will be honest.
Hmm.
I never ask someone a question if I don't think they can tell me no. Because if you can't tell me no, then you're going to be aggravated with me. I'm really not going to be your friend because you think I'm not going to like you if you can't say no to me. So if I really need something from somebody, I have certain people that if I ask them and they cannot do it, they'll say, no, HollyKem, I can't. I said, no problem. I really want that answer if that's the truth. Because I want this to be honest. So it's like, I don't need them to please me for me to be their friend. They already are my friend. I already love them, and I want them to be pure and clean about what's important to them. So in that, it's like, I'll have to learn how to say no too.
Yeah.
I really like that you bring up the honesty with self,
Yeah.
because this is something honestly I've been working on for the last 10 years
Yeah.
intentionally, because I was gifted by my ex-girlfriend this book by Brené Brown, The Power of Vulnerability. I'm sure we all know who's Brené Brown, The Power of Vulnerability. And as a man who have gone through what I've gone through, I've listened to this audiobook like 3 times in like 90 days. And I'm still trying to unpack a lot
Yeah.
from that information just to really be frank with oneself regardless.
Yeah.
And I'm not gonna lie to you, it's not that easy. It's not easy. You have to peel a lot of layers. So
Yes.
yeah.
And you're so, the first thing, what's so important to us is that, if I am honest with myself, I don't have to be honest with all of y'all right now, right? I have to know me. I have to really
Yeah.
not be afraid of where I come from,
Mhm.
all the ugly that happened to me, all the ugly I did to my own self, and really look at that with a loving eye. Like it, as a life coach, it's like people come to me, and as a therapist, I've been doing this for 40 years. It's like they come to me, and if you do the religious word sin, they bring me all their sin. If you do the therapeutic world, they bring me all their pain. Okay, whatever it is. So they bring me this sadness, this hurt, and there's not one that I haven't fallen in love with over
Mm.
all these years. And it was like in that, and even what they had done, the way they protected themselves through that wound, you could see I had so much compassion for them because there was reasons why that they did these bad things because they were hurting. They didn't do it because they wanted to hurt themselves or others, but they just wanted to protect themselves. And when I realized that over the years, like I didn't judge them. I loved them. And then it was like, HollyKem, that's what you have to do to yourself because I didn't have a problem loving them. And it was like, well, think about all the things that happened to you and how you tried to protect yourself but failed, right? In an unhealthy way a lot of times. And through that, it was like, I have to have much compassion for me. And as I started to become vulnerable with myself, the love started to just grow and grow and grow. And the byproduct, I was always a lonely person, just lonely. And because I was a people pleaser. And I wasn't important in the relationship. So, but what happened in working with people is that one day I was like, and it was never about me in the sessions, right? But I wasn't lonely. And I was like, okay, God, why? What, this is different. And it was because I listened with my heart.
Mhm.
And when I start and through that process of doing it for them, I was listening with my heart to myself. So I became more available and they felt loved, but so did I, and I wasn't lonely. So it was a win, win, win.
Mm.
And in that, even though I had to learn to love some unhealthy things that I had done, it depowered it. And when it depowered it, and when I learned to love the things that, happened to me or that I did to myself, and I learned to love that, it depowered it. And then it was like I kept showing up to the table.
Yeah.
And the love that I had for the person and for myself was as much love as I could give to the person in front of me. So that became another win-win. So in the vulnerability, like a lot of people see that as weak, but I always tell people don't think as vulnerable as I am, that's how bold I am on a true self level.
Mm. Mhm.
Because I can have a boundary, I can set it. I'm willing to lose people if that's what's not healthy for me, but I will be vulnerable.
Yeah. That's good.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then add on to that, one of the things we've learned is that we can't change anything that we can't love.
Right.
And we know that from the outside,
Right.
is that if we're wanting to help someone, if we can't truly love them, we won't be able to help facilitate change.
Mm-hmm.
But it also applies to us. So the question becomes, if you want to change your anxiety, you need to learn to love that anxiety inside of yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Not love it in the sense that it has power,
Right.
but it's actually the opposite effect.
Yes.
When we love things that are unhealthy for us, it actually depowers it and takes the power away. And so that's why we use the image. There's a part that does get anxious. And how do you love that younger part of you that
Hmm.
gets anxious and sees the world from like a boy's point of view, not a man's point of view?
Right.
And how do you love that? And as you do, then it starts to take some of the power away
Yeah.
from it, and you start to get relief.
Totally.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know, Mario, I had a client that she was how old was sweet girl? She was 14 when I got her. And she's from California. She's half Asian, Korean, and extreme her family's very disciplined. Okay. So she's very disciplined. 5 o'clock in the morning, she wakes up, she's homeschooled. You know, she prays for an hour, then she cleans the house, and I mean, just unbelievable. Like I was like, whoa. And we were meeting, and we were talking before. I want to make sure, it worked for her as well. So we talking, and I said, well, what I do is I teach people how to love themselves. And she says, that's a very good question because I don't know how to do that. And this is this, and I mean, pure as she can be. And she said, well, will you show me? I said, yes. And it's exactly what we said. Exactly what we said. It's like loving myself in all of that, you know? And it's through that I become everything and every promise that I was intended in my destiny to be. Because now it's quiet and I can hear it and I can do it with purpose and purity. Even if I'm doing it already, but I'm doing it with purpose and purity from my heart.
Hmm. That's good.
Mm.
Yeah. So what are you taking so far?
Yeah, I see you so with us.
Ooh, a lot. Um, so, my goodness, where do I start? Okay, I'll try and keep it concise for the sake of the opportunity. So I'm sure we've all heard that to help someone to learn to love themselves, we love them until they learn to love themselves. And I really like what was mentioned, that to change something, we got to love it first. And I'm just curious, if we actually learn to love something or someone for what it is, where it eventually it loves itself and it learns that it needs to evolve more on itself, on its
I,
own. That's what I'm wondering about.
Yeah, I think that's
yes,
true.
that is so true. Because when you love yourself, you can't hurt yourself.
Well, there is a spiritual principle that love conquers all fear, right? And so if you have those two opposing forces, which they are opposing,
Right.
you have fear, anxieties under that category of fear, and you have love, which we associate with feeling covered, cared for, safe. We can just relax and be in who we are.
Mm.
That you have these two forces that are opposing. And so one covers the other. And love is a greater force.
Mm.
And when we allow ourselves through vulnerability to allow others to cover us in those places who can care for us, then all of a sudden we start doing that for ourselves. And that's really what parenting is about, right? A child can't take care of themselves, so they have the parent taking care of them in that specific area from a place of love. And then over time, that child learns to do that for themselves. So it's the same process that we can experience with others as we become adults. But as adults, we can actually do that for ourselves. And that's why in our language we find so helpful is that, if we were to be working with you for weeks and weeks and weeks, we would help you give that part, the anxiety part, a name.
Like we named it, right?
We would name it, and
Mm,
and we would work with you in parenting and loving that part so much
mm,
that
Mm-hmm.
that part of you begins to let go of the anxiety and the fears a
Mm-hmm.
little bit at a time, because it's the covering of someone
Mm-hmm.
greater, a greater power that increases our sense of security. It's like a little boy that's with their dad, and their dad's right there, and dad can take care of anything, and they can venture around and play, and they keep looking back, you're still there. But if the dad disappeared, all of a sudden, oh my goodness, great anxiety. So there's a covering
Right.
that
That's a
occurs.
good one, honey.
And how do we start to learn to cover, in a sense, those parts of ourselves is really key to dealing with our own anxieties. It's like, if I get anxious and I just start talking and say, it's okay, I'm an adult man, I can handle this, it's all right, I'm taking care of the situation, I'm taking care of you, it's okay.
Yeah.
Just take a deep breath, I got you.
Mm-hmm.
Then all of a sudden, my whole physiology starts changing because there's like a self-parenting that's going on at different levels for different things. But when we have that, how do we learn to do that? We learn it first, just like you said, from outside of us, wonderful people doing that for us, and then all of a sudden it becomes something that we begin to do for ourselves. I remember I was working with a man who was really secure. He didn't have much anxiety. He was very strong in his manhood. He carried himself well. And I asked him, how did you get like that? It was just really, it wasn't a macho thing. It was just a beautiful sort of confidence thing. And he said, I can tell you exactly how I did that. He said, I spent so much time with my father, and I always felt like I was close to his heartbeat growing up.
Oh, wow.
And he said, now that I'm an adult, he's still there with me, even though he's not with me. And I was saying, that's the example of the covering, right? And that covering was so strong for him from someone else that it became internalized to where he did it for himself. And then he carried himself with great confidence in all kinds of situations. So I think that goes right along with what you're saying. But we're going to have to.
Yeah. I would
You
say
got
something. Yeah. I didn't fact check this. I just heard this today that in the Super Bowl, there hasn't been one quarterback that hasn't had a father in the home.
Oh,
Now I don't know if that's true, but I heard that today. Like the quarterbacks grew up with their father in the home that have gone to the Super Bowl, that have been the Super Bowl,
oh, right.
you know what I'm saying? That went all the way.
The influence, yeah.
The influence, right? Like the heartbeat of the father. And I was like, that's interesting
Well,
that somebody even did that research, but it was like,
said
what, I guess they were looking at what did they all have in common,
to develop that confidence,
right. So it's like for us, I mean, I grew up with two fathers, but not like that, right? And so in the process, it's like learning to be that heartbeat in that father, right?
for ourselves.
For ourselves.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
Can I make a joke as we're wrapping up about Super Bowl really quick?
Yeah. Go ahead.
Yes.
We know this game is really expensive and it generates like billions of dollars every year, right?
Yeah.
Why are they worried about getting the quarterback? It's just at 25 cents. Why is it such a big deal?
It's a million back, huh? A billion back.
On a somewhat, I don't want to say serious note, but to go back to our topic, I'm really grateful that you shared your thoughts and ideas with me. I like the openness that we have here, and I feel like we really can grab some tea and chat for some time. And I guess one of the last things I want to touch on, just to maybe you can help me celebrate with myself, because I've been practicing this almost 2 years now, where I consciously actually, when I feel like I'm out of balance, I'm not successful doing this 100% of the time. It's going to take some time to practice it. I actually talk to myself in the mirror, and the results of that, either like I ask myself, hey, what's up? And I actually talk to myself. Other times I get really emotional, and other times where I actually stare and just cry, and I don't have to say anything.
Wow.
So there's a deeper connection that I'm building here. So just want to bring this up.
And one of the assignments I always give people is say in the mirror, I love you 10 times. And you do that until you don't cry.
If you were to tell that myself 12 years ago, 13 years ago, I say this is some crazy talk.
I know, but it's so powerful. I had a client that did it and he called me. He was hysterical. He goes, what have you done to me? I said, keep doing it every day. And then there'll be a day when you can look at yourself and you can say it and you will not cry again.
Wow.
And then it becomes internal that you will be saying, I love you all the time to yourself with such love and compassion. But at first, you got to break the walls, and that's what
Right.
you're doing.
And that's the
Yeah,
anti-anxiety technique.
it is.
Yeah.
Oh my God. You're awesome.
Well, let's
Oh, you guys.
Yes.
we're gonna land the plane with I want us each to talk about what is going to be the takeaway that we're taking from today's coaching session.
Takeaway. Okay.
What's going to be your take? What you going to take away, Mario?
Well, you guys will always be in my heart and my mind with everything that you just shared with your experiences. I appreciate it. Um, yeah, but let's see. I really like that. One, we need to be aware of that wall that needs to be broken down to be vulnerable, and two, it's really true. To change something, it needs to be loved, and it's going to change on its own. I really like that a lot.
I'm going to,
Simple.
yeah, simple and good, huh? I'm going to take away, Mario, that the joy that you bring to the table and the work being transferred from the worker bee, for others, the bunny giving it all away, to I can see all those years of you giving it back to yourself by loving yourself and caring for yourself, even doing this, like just wanting more and more of who you are to be seen more and more. Not that you're not there, but it to just be more vulnerable, to come out like you said, like your mirrors with all of your affirmations, that you are going to receive all that you deserve and you desire, because you're not willing to stop. And that is the beautiful part that you got from your mother. And I love that you're transferring it into you being all that you are, and not giving it away on that level, but bringing it inside. So then when you do give it, it comes from your heart and it's your true self. Yeah. This is a win-win in your life. Not only in our podcast, you doing all that work. It's beautiful.
Yeah, that's so good.
Yeah.
Yeah, my takeaway is I love what you said that really struck me is that we we love by others and then we can love ourselves.
Yeah.
Basically, what I heard that becomes instilled in us after we experience that from the outside. And so if we need certain things that need to be loved, we need to find safe people that can love us. And then it starts to instill a voice that we can love ourselves. And age doesn't make a difference. It's a human to human thing. And so that was really powerful. And also too, what struck me was that how hungry you are to
Yeah.
grow. Like HollyKem is, like you said, years ago, if I did this, I would have thought it was cray cray, and now I think it's
Right.
one of the most awesome things, and that's a tribute to your desire, your growth, your hunger,
Yeah.
and I can see that you've had lots of manifestations, but you are going to have lots and
Yeah.
lots more
Exactly.
because of that. So blessed are those who hunger and thirst; they shall be filled.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's wonderful.
So tell us about the book you wrote.
Oh, there are three of them.
Yay.
You really want me to do this now? Okay,
Yes.
so the first book, the title is actually Empowering Communication Unleashed. And the subtitle is, as I mentioned, the most powerful voice you will ever hear is your own. And it really talks about authenticity, empathy, self-care, to be aware of our inner voice and the ripple effect it has on other people. And it also expresses the idea that being kind beyond necessary is a very high virtue that we all can take on. We can all benefit each other. The second book is 180-degree You in 180 Days for Business and Professional. Basically, I was admitted in the hospital for a couple of months because of stress, anxiety,
Yeah.
and as a researcher and author, I cannot even, I'm anxious in the hospital. So I'm just like writing and creating, I love to create things, just and share. And my third book, the title is The Listener, Learning by Osmosis. Universe is the True University.
Wow.
There we go. Keep it simple for now.
That's
That's
beautiful.
so
So
good.
if our
Yes.
listeners were interested in purchasing one or more of those books, where would be the best way for them to find them?
Well, the first one, Empowering Communication Unleashed, is pretty much all over Amazon, Barnes and Noble, pretty much everywhere. What's the other website? eBay, everywhere. The other two books, they've been published, but they have not been put on the market yet. Maybe in
Okay.
a 30, 60 days it will be, but it's on my website just to
Okay.
check it out, mariowissa.com. But for the book will not be out for another 30, 60 days. It's a long process.
It is a
Long
long, it
process.
is a long process.
Thank you for
Well,
asking this.
yeah,
Yeah,
of
it's
course, of
important.
course. Well, we loved having you,
Yeah.
and thanks for giving us the honor and privilege of
Yes.
coaching you. And thank you all for joining
Yeah.
us for this episode of Transform You. And until next time, we say, have a voice
Have a voice.
and God bless.
God bless you guys.
Are you ready to embark on a journey of personal transformation and inner healing? Our intensive online coaching program is designed for individuals and couples seeking to reconnect with their true selves. Dive into our lessons, activations, live coaching calls, and educational readings tailored to uncover limiting beliefs, healing emotional wounds, and to cultivate a life filled with authenticity. Transform yourself, transform your relationships. It's time to transform you. See the description below to see how to